Hare Krishna. Last time we discussed, Bhimsen said to Yudhishthir and Vyasa that he will bring the horse for the Ashwamedh Yajna. He glorifies the name of Lord Vasudeva, and he himself takes a vow that under any circumstance he will bring the horse. Yudhishthir at that time was a bit concerned about who will accompany him for this Herculean task. That time, Karna's son, Vrishketu, volunteers, and he told Bhimsen that take me as your second. So further, we'll continue. After Vrishketu volunteered, Bhimsen said to him that, my dear child, we feel very ashamed when we look at your face because we were the cause of your father's death. Here, it's a figure of speech. Bhimsen is identifying himself with Arjuna because he is Arjuna's elder brother. So he is taking the responsibility as an elder brother. We killed your father, so we feel ashamed. So he is indicating that we don't want to engage you or involve you in this dangerous task of bringing the horse for the sacrifice. So Vrishketu said that actually you have done a benevolent deed in killing my father. Now Vrishketu was a godly man. He was a godly son of Karna, though Karna himself had demoniac nature. But Vrishketu, unlike his father, he was very saintly, he had a very saintly character. Although he was just 16, he had oceanic wisdom and he was very chivalrous, that you will find here as the story progresses. So he said that you have done a big benevolent deed in killing my father in the matter of dharma of Kshatriyas actually. Because when a Kshatriya dies in the battle, he gains heaven. And especially when Karna, because Karna was killed in front of Krishna. Krishna was present there. It is said that those who died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra in the presence of Krishna attained salvation. So Vrishketu is saying to Bhimsen that as a matter of fact, you have not killed my father, actually you have killed his sins. So he knew that his father was sinful. How throughout his life he accompanied Duryodhan. He remained an obedient servant to Duryodhan. Because Duryodhan was an incarnation of Kali. So he was sin personified. And Karna very much liked his company. So as the saying goes in English, birds of a feather flock together. So because Duryodhan was sinful in nature and Karna very much liked his company, so actually Karna had sinful intelligence. Here Vrishketu is telling the fact. This is not Vrishketu's dosha drashti. Ideally, a son is not supposed to find faults with the father. So that dharma is described in Mahabharata. But see, dharma is of different category, different levels. Because Vrishketu was a pure devotee of the Lord, he knew the highest dharma. Save pumsa paro dharmo yato bhakti adoksaj ahetu kya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. He knew the highest dharma. So, from that perspective, he is telling the fact about the darker side of his father. Further, he is saying that Draupadi was a jewel among women, Stri Ratna, and she deserved no insult, no agony, no miseries. But when she was insulted and tormented in the court, in front of so many kings and so many elderly people of the Kuru dynasty, and so many gurus like Kripacharya, Dronacharya, she was lamenting that time At that time, my father looked at her as if she was in a deserted place. That means instead of helping her, he ignored her totally. Also, my father captured 1,000 cows of King Virat, and then Arjun got them released. This is what I've heard from bona fide sources. Also, actually, Pandavas, by killing my father, have practically done a great charitable act to purify him. It's not that Arjuna has done some injustice to him. Just like if somebody accepting the pieces of broken glass and in exchange gives Chintamani. Chintamani is a wish fulfilling gem. So similarly, Arjun accepted defame of killing Karna when his chariot was stuck in the ground, as you know the story. At that time, ideally, according to the rules of warfare, he was not supposed to kill him, because actually when somebody is not alert, when somebody is fleeing away from the battlefield, when somebody is taking the shelter of the opposite party, or when somebody doesn't have the weapon in his hands, on these occasions, you cannot attack that party who is not alert in that manner. So Karna was in a similar situation. Karna's chariot actually was stuck in the ground, and that time he pleaded to Arjun not to kill him. But because Karna himself was, he himself didn't follow dharma earlier. Actually, dharma is very complex. This particular topic is discussed again and again in Mahabharata by Bhishma repeatedly. And Vyasa, in the course of his narration of Mahabharata, again and again is saying that dharma is very sukshma, very subtle. So though there is an instruction that one should not kill the opposite party, the warrior, opponent, when he is without weapons. But at the same time it is said that if one acts cunningly, one is not following dharma and has killed so many people in an irreligious manner. So if you kill the opponent, such an opponent, in a similar fashion, then you have no dosha. That means there is no fault in that. So actually, Arjun did no adharma by killing him, because Arjun killed Karna by Krishna's instructions only. But there are some people in the world who think that Arjun actually did injustice to Karna by killing him in such a fashion, in such a manner. So Vrishketu is saying that even if we accept that, then Arjuna actually accepted a defame, and in return he gave heaven to my father. Just like somebody will accept the broken glasses in exchange of giving Chintamani. So wonderful analogy Vrishketu is presenting here. Another example he is giving, that if somebody cuts out a tree yielding no fruit at all, if there is a tree which doesn't bear any fruits and it's there in your courtyard, and somebody else comes in your courtyard and he removes that tree and plants Vrishketu, Kalpavriksha there, and he plants Kalpavriksha there, that means wish fulfilling tree. So tell me, what wrong does he commit by doing so? He's just doing the favor. Similarly, Arjun, by killing him, actually removed all the sins of my father, and he obtained the Surya Lok. Because that is also one way of attaining salvation, through Surya Lok. And also Karna, because he was a son of Suryadev, so he, after leaving his body, he went to Surya Lok, sun god. But still there is some infamy lingering on the part of my father. because he always gave company, he always kept the company of Duryodhan, and he always supported him in his sinful activities. So because of that reason, my father still has the stigma of infamy on his character. So by helping in this sacrifice, I will remove that infamy that he is having now in his name. So kindly take me as your acquaintance and will bring the horse. So hearing the words of Vrishketu, Bhima embraced him, and next to him was standing his own grandson. As I told you earlier, Bhimsen's grandson was Meghvarna. Ghatotkacha's son was Meghvarna. That's Bhimsen's grandson. So he told Meghvarna that your father Ghatotkacha rescued all the Pandavas from many calamities. Now they are preparing. So Bhimsen was going, and along with him was going Vrishketu. So they are preparing now to leave. But Bhimsen was concerned about Yudhishthir's well-being, his protection. Bhimsen is telling his grandson, Meghvarna, that your father Ghatotkacha rescued all the Pandavas from many calamities. That is described in Mahabharata. That he's saying here, Bhimsen is saying, reminding at least on one occasion, he carried them on his back and took them to the Mount Gandhamadhan. It was necessary to go there, and it was very difficult to go to Gandhamadhan Parvat. So Ghatotkacha on his back took all the Pandavas and Draupadi, and Dhaumya was just flying by on his own like that, because he had the mystic siddhi. So following in his footsteps, in my absence, you should protect Dharmaraj, just like your father protected Dharmaraj earlier in the matter of his discharge of his duties. Similarly, you should also protect Dharmaraj in my absence, because I am going along with Vrishketu to get the horse. So until I come back with the horse, along with Arjuna, you should protect Dharmaraj. So now Meghvarna, who is just a kid, but he is a Rakshasa kid, so he is very intelligent and very brave, very valorous, and he, Rakshasas like to fight. He was very chivalrous. He wanted to pick up fight. The Rakshasas have that nature. But here, Meghvarna, because he was a devotee of the Lord, so he employed a tendency in the service of Krishna. So Meghvarna said, the brave Ghatotkacha was born of you, because Bhimsen first of all glorified his father, Ghatotkacha. Now, Meghvarna is giving that credit to Bhimsen only. There is no wonder in that, because he was your son. My father, Ghatotkacha, was very brave and chivalrous and did so many services because he is your son. He was your son. Only by your mercy and only by your power he could do such purifying job. And he gave the example. Just like the water of drainage remains impure as long as it doesn't merge into the water of Ganges. Once it merges into the water of Ganges, it is considered to be not impure anymore. Similarly, what he is trying to say is that my father was a Rakshasa and I am also Rakshasa. So our blood is impure. But because he engaged in your service, because of your association, he became pure. Just like the water of drainage becomes pure just because of merging into the water of the Ganges. So what remains difficult for a man to obtain if they remain in a holy company? So here, as I told you earlier, Jaimini, in the course of his narration, is giving very nice instructions in regard to dharma and good association, saintly association, like that. So what remains difficult for a man to obtain if they remain in a holy company? Don't the stone rock got liberation when it got the touch of Rama's feet in the past? It's about Ahalya, Gautama's wife. By Gautama's curse, she became stone rock. But when she got a touch of Rama's feet, she was liberated. So Meghvarna is explaining here the benefit of holy association. So Meghvana is insisting that now you are going to Bhadravati Puri along with Vrishketu. So kindly take me there also. Kindly take me also there. I'll bring that horse. You and Vrishketu will be busy fighting because Yavanashva has 10 Akshauhini Sena. So what will happen to the horse? Somebody has to abduct the horse. So when you and Vrishketu are busy fighting, I'll carry the horse on my back and I will fly in the sky. So I have an important role to play. So better you proceed as soon as possible after saluting the king. Certainly you will win the battle as well as the great fame. And what remains unavailable to one who pays obeisance to Sri Hari? One who pays obeisance to Lord Hari can gain anything. Namaskaro Hare Pomsam Kim Kim Na Kurute Bata. Putra Mitra Kalatrartha Rajasvarga Apavargadaha. It's a classic thing to say. Meghvana is saying very wonderful thing here. That if one pays obeisance to Lord Krishna with all his heart, all his soul, he can gain anything. He can get sons, friend, wife, wealth, kingdom, heaven. And what to speak of these material things? He can attain Apavarga also. Apavarga means liberation, salvation from this material world. He can get anything. Hari destroys the sins and all mental and physical ailments. He supports the dharma and fulfills all the desires. So those who make salutations, that is, those who pay obeisances to Sri Hari, are completely free from all sins. So here, Meghvana is explaining the importance of paying obeisances to Lord Hari. So this has to be done with all one's heart and soul, not just mechanically. So Mahaprabhu has taught us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us how to pay obeisance to Lord Krishna. We should pray like Ainanda Tanuja Kim Karam Patitam Ma Vishami Bhavamadu Kripya Tava Pada Pankaja Sita Dhuli Sadosham. This is how we should pray to Krishna. And if we pray to Krishna like this and we pay obeisances to Krishna like this with full body, mind and intelligence, then we really receive blessings from Krishna. So Bhima became very happy by hearing what Meghvana said. Dhanyavasi putra kushalam bhashase paramam hitam. What you are saying is supremely beneficial to all of us. Meghvana is preaching. Rakshasa is preaching here. All these people, all these characters described here by Jaimini, they are wonderful devotees. So Meghvana though he was a Rakshasa, he was a wonderful devotee. So Bhima became very pleased with him and he had full confidence in him. Why Bhima had full confidence in Vrishketu and Meghvana? Because they were saintly in character. They were devotees of Krishna. That was the litmus test. A person who has full faith in Krishna has the perfect character, spotless character. That is again and again emphasized in this version of Mahabharata, in Jaimini's version of Mahabharata. So Bhimsen accepted Meghvana also. So he said, you also come along and accompany Vrishketu. You will be a great ready helping hand. So let all the three of us go there in the territory of others. Now we are going to go to somebody else's place and definitely the situation is going to be hostile because we are not going there with some friendly message. We are going to abduct something very valuable to the king of that territory. So you can't expect a very friendly welcome there. We are going to wage a war against this great king. So Yudhishthira was hearing this dialogue and he became very happy. So he said that what Maharshi Vyasa asked us to do, it seems that we can perform all that, we can execute that. He is pretty confident now. And now that it has already been much late in the night, great Rishi Vyasa is about to depart. So let us worship him and let him leave. So after Maharshi Vyasa He was worshipped by the Pandavas and then he departed. After Vyasa's departure, Yudhishthira again became lost in thought. Now he is not worried, but now he is planning how we are going to do this yajna, because we have to acquire so many things, we have to procure so many things. So his concern was about, mainly what he was pondering about was the main element was still missing. And what is that? Krishna was missing. So Yudhishthira, through all this conversation, he was hearing, but in the back of the mind, he was always thinking about Krishna, that Krishna is still missing. His blessings are missing. What he has to say about this sacrifice, we haven't asked him yet. So his concern was about whom to consult and how to get money. So worried, he told his brothers what he said. How I'm going to get a horse? How is this sacrifice going to be performed? And why am I worried about this? Because Lord Krishna is not here now among us. Lord Krishna, who had always been protecting us from every catastrophe, lives very far. At that time, where was Krishna? Krishna was in Dwarka. So who will help us now? Because he's not here. Without him, I don't see any other support. So he is addressing Krishna now. Oh Govinda, I am sinking in the ocean of sin accrued from family slaughter, because I have become the cause of the slaughter of entire Kuru dynasty. What do I do? It's such an unfortunate occasion, and you are not here available in front of among us to purify us from the sins. If you do not stand by me as a shelter, how shall I complete this sacrifice? And the fact is, Yudhishthira performed this sacrifice only to please Krishna. That you will see eventually. When the yajna was performed at the end, Yudhishthira, with proper procedure, offered the fruit of the sacrifice to Krishna. That you will come across gradually. So just as you protected Draupadi when she was sinking in the ocean of calamity, Draupadi was earlier being insulted in that assembly. That time, Krishna appeared and saved her. Similarly, so Yudhishthira is recalling that. Just like you protected Draupadi from the heinously shameful situation, similarly, I am also here in the very shameful situation. Why? Because I have killed so many people. It's very shameful. He didn't want to show his face. He felt ashamed. This is the sign of a saintly person, that he feels embarrassed in a situation when he himself considers to be responsible for such a massacre. So Yudhishthira himself felt very shameful for this situation, in this situation. So kindly come, O Krishna, O Govinda, O Damodar, O ocean of mercy. Yehi Krishna Govinda Damodara Dayanava, that you are the ocean of mercy. Kindly appear and cleanse me from these sins. And if you do not stand as a protector, this sacrifice of mine will not be performed. It will all go in vain. Even if I do it, it will not be successful. So kindly appear. So Yudhishthira, here you will find Yudhishthira's love. Jaimini is expressing here how much love and dependence Yudhishthira had on Krishna. For how much love he had for Krishna, how much he depended on Krishna, which is a sign of love. The Shadvida Sharnagati. Anukulesa Sankalpa Patikulesa Varjanam Rakshisa iti Vishwasa Goptute Varana Tatha Atmanikshepa Karpaniye Shadvida Sharnagati. So all the Pandavas felt always helpless and shelterless without Krishna, and they always depended on Krishna for everything. So that was a sign of full Sharnagati. So Pandavas were totally surrendered to Krishna. And that is the beauty of this version of Mahabharata, Jaimini's version of Mahabharata, that he is mainly emphasizing here not on the dharma, artha, kam, moksha, the four purusharthas. He is mainly showing here devotion, love and devotion that Pandavas had for Krishna. That's the beauty of this version. So Yudhishthira was just thinking about Lord Krishna in this way, and he was meditating on his sweet pastimes. Madhurati pate rakhilam madhuram. Everything about Krishna is very sweet. So his exploits, his pastimes, which are like nectar. So Yudhishthira was meditating on them. He was constantly, he was deeply absorbed. Here we can understand that when, what Jaimini is describing here, he was when Yudhishthira was thinking like this, he was totally absorbed and he became totally oblivious of his surrounding. He just became absorbed on meditating on Krishna's pastimes. What happened? At that time, at very moment, Krishna appeared at the gate. Though he was very far, he was in Dwarka, but suddenly he came. He came at the gate, where in Hastinapur. That all-pervading Lord of Lakshmi asked the doorkeeper, the Dwarpal, Pratyahar, he is also called Pratyahar. Swayam sa Krishno Bhagavan Sarvavyapi Ramapatihi. He is Sarvavyapi, so he is present everywhere. So he is present in Dwarka, he is present in Hastinapur also. And actually Krishna never leaves his devotees. Though he may not be visible to others, but Krishna always remains present by the side of his devotees. Swayam sa Krishno Bhagavan Sarvavyapi Ramapatihi Abraviccha Pratyahara Mam Nivedaya Bhupatehe. That Krishna told Pratyahara, the doorkeeper, what did he say? That inform Bhupate. Who is Bhupati? Yudhishthira, the king, that I am here. As it is customary to inform the king, if one appears, if one wants to meet the king, it is customary that he should take due appointment in advance. So Krishna, though he himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but yadyad acharati shreshthas tattat evetaro janaha. Whatever is followed by the great personality or the leading personality of the society, the common people follow in his footsteps. So Krishna, by his own behavior, by his own conduct, he is showing the dharma that he wants to take the appointment and then meet the king. So hearing the words of Lord Krishna, the Pratyahara, the doorkeeper, replied, "O Govinda, there is always time with Yudhishthira for you." In the kingdom of Yudhishthira, everyone was devotee. Even the doorkeeper was also a devotee. So he paid his own homage, his own obeisance to him, and then he said, "Yudhishthira has always time for you. You don't need any appointment to meet him. Dharmaraj has instructed me permanently about you that whenever you visit here, you need no permission. You can straight away walk to his inner apartments, inner chambers." And also Yudhishthira told me, he has taught me, that there is no question of your visiting the place where people find faults with others, misappropriate others' money, and covet for others' wives. So here again, you will see, it's very similar to what Chanakya said. Matrut paridareshu paradraveshu loshtavat atmavat sarvabhuteshu yapashari sapandita. So there is a link. That matrut paridareshu, that is, one should not covet for others' wives. Matrut paridareshu. Misappropriate some others' property, others' money. That is paradraveshu loshtavat. And atmavat sarvabhuteshu. If somebody considers others to be his own self, like his own self, he will not find faults with them, because no one likes to criticize himself. So this wisdom you will find again and again being repeated in the scripture, in Mahabharata. So you are visiting this place, that means this place is free from these three faults. That here nobody, Yudhishthira never finds faults with others, he never thinks about misappropriating others' property, and he never covets for others' wives. He is free from these faults. He is absolutely free from these flaws. So kindly go inside and fulfill the desire of the king. The king, along with Arjuna and Bhima, is dwelling upon you. He is deeply thinking about you. So Pratyahara knew about this. So kindly fulfill his desires. So when doorkeeper said that, Lord gently smiled, but he still insisted, following my orders, you should better go to the king and give him my message. May God bless you. He's giving blessings. So having been so said, doorkeeper immediately approached the king and informed him of Sri Krishna's arrival. He said, "O great king, Lord Krishna is at the main gate and he wishes to come in, he wants to have your audience. So when he heard, Dharmaraj hurriedly got up. He was surprised because he was just thinking about Krishna, and Krishna appeared immediately. He hurriedly got up from his seat and said to Bhima, he was very excited. So he's telling Bhima that as the doorkeeper is saying, Krishna has come at his odd hour of midnight, either for my pleasure or for the fulfillment of this sacrifice. Because I was just thinking about him, and it's surprising that he is here in the middle of the night. That was midnight actually. It was very late at night. So come with me. I am going to receive our beloved Krishna. See here. Ardharatre mat priyatam makha nishpataye thava. Makha means sacrifice. In order to make my sacrifice successful and to do my prayer, to give me pleasure, he has come here. Tvamayahi maya sadham yami yatra same priyaha. Let us, both of us, go to my beloved, same priyaha, me priyaha, my beloved. Hare Krishna.